Hey everyone, my name's Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I want to share some thoughts about the Goodreads Choice Awards of 2021. I gotta admit, I was preparing a TikTok, I will leave my TikTok link below, for the Goodreads Choice Awards because historically in the past I've been very disappointed about like the books that sometimes end up winning, the books that are nominated. I just feel like in the past when I've seen more and more diversity in certain genres, it hasn't been always reflected in the Goodreads Choice Awards. So I made a TikTok like preparing myself where I was like, oh look, like the Goodreads Choice Awards is gonna be it's gonna be same thing over and over and over again. But I am pleasantly surprised to see that some categories are really stepping it up. I don't know how Goodreads like organizes this, what it's based off, what algorithms it's based off. Obviously, some very popular authors have controversial opinions about their books not appearing in the Goodreads Choice Awards, which is just like the gall, the cringe in some of those comments were just like, oof, peak entitlement, I guess, basically. So today I'm going to do the adult books and I'm going to leave the YA books for a different time. So I'm going to talk about books that I read in the categories, and then I'm going to talk about what I thought about them, and I might share what I'm going to vote for. It's going to be really hard. Some of these categories are really tense. So the first one, let's go through fiction. So in fiction, I actually didn't read that many kind of just straight up adult fiction books. The only one I read was Dial A for Aunties, which was like so fabulous. It was so good. It was just like a book that I really needed to have, this kind of quick paced mystery with a lot of intrigue that was just really fun and entertaining. So that one's amazing. It's also the only one I've read, so I feel like I have to vote for it. But I've heard really great things about Detransition Baby, so I'm hoping that that one makes it into the whatever it's called next, like semifinals maybe is what it's called next, because I've heard a lot of really great things about it. And also sneaky, it is probably going to appear here for my 2022 Authors Choose My TBR kind of project that I'm going to be doing, so sneak peek. But anyway, I'm gonna vote for Dial A for Aunties because, like, as I said, that's the only one I've read. I haven't read a lot of adult fiction, okay? So next one is Best Mystery and Thriller, which I have not read basically any of these, except actually, I lied, I've read 2. But I mean, out of, let's say, how many are there? There's 1. Out of 20, like 2 out of 20 is not very high anyway, so it's almost nothing. I've read 2 of them. I've read Arsenic and Adobo, and I've read The Wife Upstairs. The Wife Upstairs was this really interesting adult thriller Jane Eyre retelling. I'm not a huge fan of Jane Eyre, so I was kind of intrigued by The Wife Upstairs. And while I felt like some of the aspects were definitely there, I was kind of left with a lot of questions at the end. So if we're only going to vote for books that I've read, I definitely really would want to put Arsenic and Adobo. That was just really fun. It was like another one that kind of reminded me of Dial A for Aunties. So in my mind, those 2 are very familiar. I definitely have to vote for Arsenic Adobo. I am so excited for this whole series. I think it's called Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mysteries. It was so fabulous. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Just because it had the great action and immediately swept me away into the story. I had no idea who did it. I'm very bad at guessing who does stuff, basically. And yeah, I read this one after I read Dial A for Aunties, so in my actual review it also says it gave me serious Dial A for Aunties vibes. So, you know, that's why I'm having a difficult time at the moment, but I'm definitely going to vote for that one. The next category is Best Historical Fiction. I have not read, how many have I read? I've read Malibu Rising, and that's it. I read Malibu Rising, and that's it. I don't want to vote for any of these. Okay, so I read Malibu Rising, or I listened to Malibu Rising, and I felt like after I finished it, I was so gutted by the way that Malibu Rising really sinks into its themes of family and its themes of sacrifice and kind of this intergenerational story. But upon reflection on Malibu Rising, I was really thinking about, okay, but like, how did I feel about the writing? How did I feel about the character development? Because I feel like that's why I wait a day or 2 to write my review, because when I'm kind of just finished it at that moment, all of my emotions are just so high. They just feel so emotionally intense, and so I'm just like, oh, I just so many feelings all at once, right? But then after a few days, I'm able to really think, okay, but like, how do I feel about this? How do I feel about, you know, the satisfaction, as I said, the character development, all of these different things. And so upon reflection, I just didn't feel as strongly as I wanted to about Malibu Rising, and as strongly as I did when finishing it. And also, like, for this one, it had taken maybe me about a week to write my review, so basically then I had really calmed down. I had a lot of time to think. I had read other things in between, so I was really able to kind of discuss with myself, basically, and how I felt. So I'm not going to vote for anything for those. But this gets to my one where I'm the most happy about. So Best Fantasy. And by the way, I have not seen any of the nominees until right now. I've only seen screenshots, mostly because I saw screenshots about how amazingly, happily diverse the Best Fantasy are. See, I'm so excited with like the queer representation. I'm so excited with I'm so excited with the books by people of color. Like, I just am so happy overall with this fantasy ones. Yes, I'm unhappy with some of these are exactly the peak of just like, ugh, Goodreads Choice Awards. Like, come on. I'm kind of upset to see some of these books in here. If you watched my most disappointing reads of 2020, you will know which one I'm the like most upset to see. And overall, I've read almost all of them. Basically, I've read all the ones that I wanted to read, but I've read almost all of them. So I've read Ariadne, The Unbroken, Starland, Malice, She Who Became the Sun, The Witch's Heart, For the Wolf and the Woodsman, A Spindle Splintered, The Chosen and the Beautiful, The Jasmine Throne, The Inheritance of Orchida Divina, and A Master of Jinn. So that's 13 out of 20. Like, that's amazing. That's over half. And I cannot decide what to pick. I loved so many of these so much. Let me just do my thoughts. Ariadne, I was super let down by the ending. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to feel, but like the ending just kind of let me down. I don't really know how else to describe it. I'll leave reviews for all of the books down below. The Unbroken, loved it so much. Loved how it discusses colonization. Loved like the cover is serving me. Loved that it was queer. Like, just loved it so much. Saarland, amazing. River Solomon, one of my auto-buy authors. Saarland was it was so fantastic. I haven't even really like written a review because I can't figure out how to describe how much I loved it. Basically, it's my last read book of this category. And so I love Saarland so much. Malice was amazing. It gives so many fabulous like anti-heroine, misunderstood, but also like so vulnerable. It fantastic. I loved the vibes. I loved the retelling aspect. It was amazing. She Who Became the Sun. Oh, loved that one so much. I just like, it was slower than I expected, but it like compels you. It sweeps you away. It was amazing. It was much longer than I thought it was. I just ate it up. Like, it was fantastic. I can't wait. Like, so many of these are good series starters too. The Witch's Heart is also queer. I really enjoyed this one. This one was something that I actually read like while I was on the plane, basically. So my memories of it are kind of just turbulent. But The Witch's Heart had a really interesting idea about kind of love and an idea about identity tied up with love, and this idea about losing yourself in love and losing your sense of self. I enjoyed that one. For the Wolf, I really liked, even though I got very much Red Riding Hood vibes, but I think that it more skewed more towards like Beauty and the Beast if I had to pick a story that it reminded me of. And I wasn't really expecting that, and I mean, like the cover, come on, I was expecting it to be like a Red Riding Hood thing. But I really enjoyed For the Wolf. I loved the idea of the magic. I loved the setting, the world, like it was really fascinating to me. The Wolf and the Woodsman, which I have on my shelf that you cannot see, but I really enjoyed The Wolf and the Woodsman as well. It was really interesting to see this clash between religion and ideology and kind of like societal values. That was really interesting to me to read thematically. So that's really there. A Spindle Splintered was just like this fabulous Sleeping Beauty meta retelling multiverse, like amazing kind of idea kernel to it. That novella was really intriguing. I enjoyed it. I ended up listening to it and I guess like kept going back to parts that I really liked. The Chosen and the Beautiful, that one was kind of sad to me because it was so anticipated for me, and I just felt like as a retelling there are some aspects that I didn't feel were fully delved into or explored enough, if that makes sense. The Jasmine Throne, Tasha's story is an auto by author. I've loved Empire of Sand and Realm of... What is it? Empire of Sand and Realm of... Oh, you can see it here. What is it? Realm of... This is gonna bother me so much. Okay. Empire of Sand. Oh my god, wait. This has a signed book plate in it. I totally forgot about that. Empire of Sand. Is it Realm of something? Okay. I will obviously put all of the relevant links below, but I really love Tasha's story, and the Jasmine Throne was fantastic. The magic was like so interesting. The political betrayal, the romance, like it was just so beautiful. The Inheritance of Orchida Divina, that was also fabulous to talk about intergenerational trauma and the idea of passing on stories and like how much of you do you get from other people in your family. That was also beautiful. A Master of Jinn was fantastic. It was like super action-packed. It just felt like reading a sort of mystery detective kind of vibe with magical creatures and magical stories. And it was also queer, like, oh, so much to love in this fantasy category. This is definitely the one that is probably going to be the hardest for me to pick. What am I going to pick, you ask? I think I'm going to pick She Who Become the Sun. That one was just so hyped to me. It lived up to the hype as well. Like the other ones, I really loved so much of them, but like that one just has to be the one. There were just, this one is the hardest one for me to pick. I have voted already. Voted in real time with you just now. But like this one rips my heart out. My favorite ones better make it to the semifinals. I know that that will make it harder for me to vote in the next round, but like, I guess it will just be harder for me to vote next round. The next one is Best Romance. Of the Best Romance, I've read People We Meet on Vacation, The Ex-Hex, How to Fail at Flirting, Act Your Age, Eve Brown. Oh, love that one. The Heart Principle, One Last Stop, what else? The X-Talk, and that's it. I wanted to read The Dating Plan, but I didn't get to it. So it's 7 out of 20. That's like pretty good. I've seen so many of these, I just haven't read them. People We Meet on Vacation was really... I liked the idea of this friends to lovers and this idea of playing with time and like, oh, that time we went on vacation last year and the time we went on vacation 2 years ago. That was really interesting to me. I enjoyed Beach Read better though. I guess I had really high hopes after Beach Read, and so yeah. The X-Hex, I enjoyed the X-Hex, but I felt like I needed more magic in it. I felt like I needed more magic, and I felt like I read Payback's the Witch immediately after the X-Hex, and so I just really enjoyed Payback's the Witch better than the X-Hex, just because Payback's a Witch is Payback's a Witch is also queer, but I just really love like the questing, family tension, and kind of the characters I got to know a lot better in Payback's a Witch, and I just really enjoyed that one. So I definitely would recommend Payback's a Witch, especially if you like the X-Hex, I guess, and wanted like a little bit more, maybe. How to Fail at Flirting had definitely a lot of discussion of toxic and very manipulative, abusive relationship in the past. That one just like brought back just so many intense feelings, and so I felt like this one was a little bit more, because of that nature of the subject, like it was more emotionally intense and very difficult for me in some places. And I really enjoyed How to Fail at Flirting, but it was definitely like something to keep a note of. I feel the same way about The Heart Principle. I really enjoyed the Bride Test and the Kiss Quotient. So I enjoyed The Heart Principle a lot. It made me cry, but I had a lot of discussions about the death of a loved one. I just had a lot of really intense, very difficult discussions about kind of also being gaslit and, you know, your family being awful. Like, so I feel like How to Fail at Flirting and The Heart Principle definitely had sections that really brought it to an emotional place that I'm not really sure that I'm always expecting in romance books, especially when I look at the other kind of list of books that I've read. It definitely was really, really intense emotionally. Both How to Fail at Flirting, as I said, like the emotionally the emotionally toxic relationship in How to Fail at Flirting, the ex relationship, just to be entirely clear, and also the dealing with illness of a family member and like all of that stuff. That one was just really personal to me, especially with the events of the last couple of years. So both of those were definitely ones that I really enjoyed, and The Heart Principle one I really loved, but it's certainly something to keep an eye out for. Actor H.G. Brown, loved it so much. Like, I've really loved Talia Hibbert's work. That one has been, Talia Hibbert has been an author that I've been reading more and more of, just because I really loved Get a Life, Chloe Brown. That was kind of the one that started it. Actor Eve Brown was amazing. I listened to this one on audiobook, and it was spicy. It was probably the spiciest of all the books in the series, and at least for like my memory, obviously that's the one I'm going to think about. But ooh, wow, that was spicy. Like, whoa. And then One Last Stop. I enjoyed One Last Stop. I loved the premise of it so much. I love this idea of, well, I mean, I can't really discuss it that much, but I really love the premise and the world building. Also, I'm super nostalgic for books set in New York City. I didn't live/grow up in New York City, but I visited New York City a lot, and so One Last Stop was also very nostalgic in that sense. And The X Talk. Loved this one so much. It's like this rival to Lovers, to kind of radio hosts duking it out, basically. That one was amazing. I love Rachel Lynn Solomon so much. I'm gonna have to vote for The X Talk. Rachel Lynn Solomon is an author author. Talia Hibbert, like, definitely, I really, really, really want to vote for that one, but I really hope that Rachel makes it into the semifinals, so I'm gonna vote for that one. But also romance was a very difficult one, because even so, there weren't as many that I read, like in fantasy. The ones that I did read and really loved were so dear to me. Like, romance reads and romance books have really helped my mental state, my mental heart, my hope in humanity, my just everything, basically. They've been a little lifeboat, little life raft thing, basically, in 2020 and 2021. And so, just so difficult for me to vote because of how important they've been to me in the last 2 years alone. The next category is Best Science Fiction. I've read Light from Uncommon Stars. I have read Winter's Orbit. Did I read Hail Mary? I can't remember. Let me check. No, I didn't read Hail Mary. I read A Psalm for the Wild Built. I read Fugitive Telemetry. I read A Desolation Called Peace. I read Remote Control, and I read The Echo Wife. So 7 out of 20. Okay, I have to vote for Light from Uncommon Orbit. I just have to. My second pick might be a tie between A Desolation Called Peace and Winter's Orbit. Okay. Light from Uncommon Stars was fantastic. It was just like, it made me so emotional. It's one of those books where it has so many different levels, right? There's the level of violin and music, and then there's a level of kind of like space, and then there's a level of a donut shop. Like, it was amazing. It was so tender. It is so tender and emotional, and just I get emotional thinking about how much I love Light from Uncommon Stars. Like, it is just, it's my vote. It has to be. I'm going to talk about the other books too, but like that one is it. Winter's Orbit, I just loved this mix of romance and science fiction. I want more of these mixes between romance and science fiction. These mixes, because like, it felt almost 50-50, I would say almost 50-50 basically, of those two different genres, and the melding of it in Winter's Orbit was just so fantastic, because I feel like romance books really delve deeply into the character work and character development and the character interactions, and the science fiction really has a lot of, intrigue, maybe mystery, a lot of world building, and so I feel like Winter's Orbit did both of those things fantastically. I really loved it. I think I have multiple copies of it. I got sent one by the publisher, and I got the Illumicrate one of the other one. A Song for the Wild Built, Becky Chambers is another auto by author. I love this one so much. It is a lot quieter and slower and softer than what I was expecting, especially since the last one I had read was To Be Taught a Fortunate, which is like a lot going on, huge stakes. I would say A Song for the Wild Built has more of like personal, quieter stakes, but it's still fantastic. I love the idea of like a tea monk. I love this idea of a tea monk and also the robot. They had a lot of really interesting conversations and a lot of like theoretical kind of like, thematic questions. So I really enjoyed that one. Fugitive Telemetry is the latest one in the Murderbot series. I really love Murderbot, okay? If I had to pick, I think Fugitive Telemetry would be almost I don't know if I would say it's my favorite one of the series, but it's pretty high, basically. I love Murderbot, okay? That was kind of like gonna be one that I really loved already. A Desolation Called Peace is a sequel to, I have a Desolation Called Peace, it's right here. Sequel to A Memory Called Empire. I really loved A Desolation Called Peace. It gave me serious Arrival vibes. If you really like that, if you like this idea of science fiction worlds and science fiction language and aliens and speaking intercultural communication, that is all in A Desolation Called Peace. So fabulous. Love that one so much. Remote Control. I really loved all of Nanendi's books from Binti. I think Binti was the first one I read, and then I just finished Noor a couple weeks ago. Like, loved this so much, the novella. It has this idea of not only being surveilled, this idea of being in this high-tech surveillance world, but then also being off the grid, right? I thought that juxtaposition, that contrast is really interesting to see in Remote Control, and still to date, that's one of my most interesting, like, that was fascinating to read. The Echo Wife. I loved the heck out of The Echo Wife. The Echo Wife to me is like this fabulous kind of sci-fi mystery or sci-fi mystery. To me, it gave me serious like thriller, Girl on the Train kind of vibe. It's not really actually related to anything with Girl on the Train, but that thriller mystery vibe mixed with the sci-fi premise or the sci-fi worlds building, you know, the sci-fi genre. That was really great. So entertaining. So like, it was just one of those ones where I just kept reading over and over again, and it was one of the ones where I would stop it and be like, hey, I need to tell you about this book. I don't often necessarily tell people about the books I'm reading because it's just like, okay, so there's this planet and, you know, this happens. So basically, I just had to keep talking about The Echo Wife and keep doing like recaps of it because that's just the kind of book it was. So I'm going to vote for Light from Uncommon Stars, but, you know, just letting you know. The next category is Best Horror. I don't really read that much horror, to be honest. So I was surprised that I read so many in this one. First one is Summer Sons. Then it was the Final Girl Support Group. And actually that's it. For some reason, every time I look at it, it randomizes where it shows up. So like, yeah. Anyway, Summer Sons. I really, really liked Summer Sons, but only because it really focuses a lot on the character, identity and character development, and like that character as a person. I would say that the fantasy slash horror, well, yeah, the fantasy slash horror elements to me are more of like a secondary level. For me, what really stole the show was the character, the character detail and the character development. Final Girl Support Group, I enjoyed, but I felt like I didn't spend enough time with the side characters. The idea of that is like there is a support group of final girls, and I just felt like while I really enjoyed the idea and the action and the thriller aspects of it, I definitely felt like I wish that there had just been more attention on the side characters. So I'm going to vote for Summer Sons because that one was really great. I don't think I read anything in humor and nonfiction. This is going to be the end of this video, this part 1 video. But yeah, I did not read any humor. I just don't really read that many kind of books like this, and I definitely didn't read any nonfiction at all. I kind of seen the Anthropocene reviewed, but I didn't read that one. Yeah, that is the end of the part 1 of this Goodreads Choice Awards video, and next I'm going to be talking about graphic novels, young adult fiction, debut novels, young adult fantasy, and middle grade and children. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what your votes are going to be for these categories. Also let me know what you're voting for Best Fantasy, because that category is so difficult. I just want all my favorite ones to go to the semifinals. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in part 2. Bye!